Hey everyone, welcome to another top 10 list. This week's top 10 list I put together with the help of Paper Money of the United States. This is the new edition, 22nd edition. This is the new one that's out. And if I was to just flip it to the back of this book, right here, they have this interesting little chart. And what the chart shows, without me getting into too much detail, is price history of uncirculated large size type notes. And you'll notice that the categories start 1953, 64, 75, 92, 2004, 2013, and 2021. Now, the way that they acquired these prices are basically by going back through their own guides. So if you wanted to know how a certain note has done over the course of history as far as value goes, that's what that particular chart is for. Now, rather than me going through that entire chart with you, I chose a certain number of notes to make that particular list. Guess how many? That's right. This is my top 10 best gainers historically for large size currency. So top 10 large size notes that have gained the most value. These were notes that are standouts to me. These are notes that you have probably heard of just about all of these, and it's good to know how much the price has changed over the course of time. So let's get started. Number 10 on my list. Number 10, this is my mini Porthole. $2 mini Porthole. This is from 1899. The mini Porthole is a note that everybody's familiar with. I mean, you can find these fairly often. And my particular one has a quarter missing, of course. Now, all of the prices that are given are for notes that are uncirculated. Let me stress that, uncirculated. So you're talking 60 and above. So any of the notes that I'm showing aren't necessarily the values that the book says because they aren't in that condition. But an uncirculated version of this 1899 note sells for roughly $1,450. Now, that may not be that impressive, but what is impressive is that right now it's $1,450, but if you go back to 1953, the oldest that this book goes back to, this note was, any guesses? $8. So yeah, your $8 investment would have got you an uncirculated version of this note in 1953, currently worth $1,450. So yeah, that's just number 10 on the list. Number 10. And if you're curious, like I said, $1,450 right now for uncirculated. If you go back to 2004, so 16 years ago, 17 years ago, this was still only $875. So $8 to $875 to now $1,450. That's number 10. Number 9. How's this for a note only qualifying at number 9? This is an 1862 $1 legal tender. $1 legal tender, the current book value on this in uncirculated condition is roughly $3,750. Okay, $3,700. Now, if you go back, way back to 1953, that same uncirculated note you could have gotten for $25. So $25 in 1953, currently selling for $3,750. And if you just go back to 2004, you could have got this note for $1,850. But yeah, now we're sitting on $3,750. Not bad. Not bad at all for a few years. Number 9, the 1862 $1 legal tender. Number 8 on the list. I gotta go with my first replica. I do not have one of these. This is a replica of an 1869 $2 rainbow note. Now you can barely make out the rainbow on this one, and it's a replica, so that's that's pretty sad. But this is the replica of the 1869 $2 rainbow note. The $2 rainbow note, currently in uncirculated condition, you can get as much as $9 grand for it. $9,000 on that particular note. But in 1953, you didn't have to spend $9 grand or the equivalent of $9 grand in 1953 dollars. The $2 rainbow could have been yours in uncirculated condition for a mere $40. $40 to $9,000 in uncirculated condition. And going back to 2004, instead of 9,000, you could have got it for 4,500. So once again, just showing how prices change over the course of the years. That is number 8, 10, 9, 8. Number 7 on my list. Back to real notes. Yes, this one is real. From 1896, it is my $5 educational note. $5 educational note made the list as well, and like I said, this is number 7 on the list. If this was an uncirculated note, you'd be looking at about $11,500 on this particular note. $11,500. Take it back to 1953. What would you have paid for an uncirculated educational? This is going to make you sick. 55 bucks. In 1953, you could have bought this for $55. Currently sells for $11,500. Even back in 2004, this was only $9,500. Sorry, I can't read my own writing. $7,500. $7,500 in 2004, $11,500 right now, and 55 bucks in 1953. Yeah, currency holds its value. And then some. All right, so that's number 7, 10, 9, 8, 7. Yes. Number 6. Number 6 on my list. Once again, another note that surprises me that it's only number 6. This is my $10 1923 legal tender, otherwise known as the poker chip. Yes, this is the real deal, real poker chip. 1923 $10 legal tender in uncirculated condition right now is selling for roughly $11,000. 11 grand in uncirculated condition. And if you go back to 1953, would you have to have spent 11 grand on this? Nope. You could have got this for $45, $10 less than the $5 educational note. $11,000 note now. Even if you go back to 2004, this note was $4,750 as of 2004. So yeah, another note definitely climbing in value. $45 in 1953, $11,000 today. And once again, that would also be uncirculated. These are my notes or my replicas, and right now there's only one replica in this stack. But yeah, the real notes like these, in uncirculated condition. Let me stress that. This one I know is not worth $11,000 in that condition, and neither are the rest, but in uncirculated condition, those are the numbers we're talking. All right, so that was number 6. Number 5 on the list. Number 5 is a note that really surprised me. May surprise you too. We all have one of these, right? It's a $20 Federal Reserve note. Not the most impressive note in the group, that's for sure. It is kind of neat because it does have a red seal. The red seal Federal Reserve $20 notes. This is a large size note. This was from the series of 1914. And it's not a standout note for me. It never stood out. Train on the back, steamship on the other side there. It's got a car and a tugboat next to it. So, I mean, kind of cool on the back. Like I said, not the most impressive note from the front. What is impressive is the price. They did not make a whole lot of these red seals. They switched to a blue seal, which still doesn't make sense as far as being a Federal Reserve note. But yeah, they went from red seals to blue seals. No green seals. Red to blue. But if you can find a red seal $20 Federal Reserve note, these in uncirculated condition, these go for about $16,500. $16,500 for an uncirculated $20 red seal. Now, if you go back to 1953, you could have got one of these for 85 bucks. Even if you go back to 2004, this $16,500 note was still going to be had for about $5,500. So yeah, it doesn't take a whole lot of time for these notes to just swell in value like that. Those are the numbers according to the book. Like I said, on a note that you wouldn't even think of. I'm sure none of you have even considered picking up one of these. But yeah, that red seal on the 20, there just weren't a whole lot made. That's the reason that one has skyrocketed. So that one's number 5. Number 4. Another real tough note to get. This is an 1862 $10 legal tender. Now, $10 notes nowadays aren't used a whole lot. I mean, if you have a 20 and break a 20, you're likely to get a 10 back, but not always. So more often than not, 10s have been short printed. Now, a $10 1862 legal tender right now goes for about $15,000. $15,000. You could have had this note in 1953 for 65 bucks. 65 to 15,000 for this note in uncirculated condition. And going back to 2004, it was still 5,000. So it's tripled since 2004, from 5,000 to 15,000. So yeah, $10 legal tender from 1862 uncirculated, definitely on the way up, definitely showing a huge profit. All right, next up, number 3 on my list. One of my favorite notes, it is my Lazy Deuce. The $2 Lazy Deuce, my particular one is from Providence, Rhode Island. This is a national bank note. National bank notes were from specific national banks. And the prices on this, the book just uses an average, because depending on the national bank and the location of the bank depends on how scarce any individual bank was. But generally speaking, a $2 Lazy Deuce in uncirculated condition can easily get $15,000. $15,000 for the uncirculated Lazy Deuce. Back it up to 1953, that $15,000 note could be had for 60 bucks. $60. And even if you fast forward to 2004, that $15,000 note could be had for as little as, what is that, 5,000? Yep, 5,000 bucks. So yeah, another one that is steadily climbing over the years. I'm glad I got it when I did, because I'm sure it's only going to get more expensive. That is number 3 on the list. Number 2. I got to bust out another replica. By the way, this 10 was a replica, and the 20 was a replica as well. And so is this. This is a replica. This is the $10, this is the Tombstone, $10 silver certificate, the Tombstone note. Now, a Tombstone from 1886, if this was an uncirculated note, you're talking a note that's going to be roughly $30,000. $30,000 for an uncirculated version of this one. You could have bought it in 1953 for 75 bucks. Yep. $75 to $15,000. Even if you would have gotten it in 2004, it was still only $10,000. Did I say that right? Let me make sure I have that right. This is the number, just so I can say it again. $30,000 is the current price. 75 is what you could have got it for in 1953, and 10,000 is what you could have got it for in 2004. So yeah, from 10,000 15 years ago to 30,000 now, it's also tripled in value. So yeah, your currency collection, pretty safe. And number 1 on my list. What is number 1? Well, I do not have the note. I do not have a replica, but I've got this one. This is the real note. This one is a 1922 $20 gold certificate. The note that made number 1 on the list is the 1905 version of this note, which is called the Technicolor note. The difference between the notes, this 20 would be bright yellow, in gold coin would be bright yellow, and the back would be all this color yellow, so that there's quite a bit of color on this particular note. The Technicolor note goes for around $30,000 as well. $30,000 note in uncirculated condition. If you go back to 1953, there wasn't a price on these, because these were still illegal. You were not allowed to own gold or gold certificates back then, so there was no price on the gold certificate, which would mean that this would still be worth face value, roughly 20 bucks. Even though you couldn't use it, you couldn't spend it. It did not list a price in 1953. But in 2004, the price was $9,000, and now for an uncirculated note, you're talking $30,000. So there is my top 10 notes that have gained the most historically. If you learned anything new this week, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. Remember, the entire chart is located in the back of Paper Money of the United States, and you can look up just about any note you want to see how it's done historically. But these are the ones that got my attention. These are the ones that had significant gains, and these were also the ones that, as you can see, I have most of. Guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next week.